Hello, everyone. I am Matthew Shreefy, the co-founder of Unlit, and this is the first episode of the Unlit web show, in which we meet with different filmmakers and artists, as well as discuss upcoming events and screenings. In this episode, I sat down with, technically I guess I was sitting down. I sat down with Henry Czerwonka, who is a writer, editor, director, producer, all-around master of all trades filmmaker, who I believe is based in New York now, but originally from the Midwest. As we talked about his latest film, Haunters, an award-winning short film. Very good. Definitely recommend checking it out before tuning into the interview. But we talk a lot about process, about intent. And I think it was a great conversation. I'm very thankful that he sat down on Zoom and gave me some time during his sort of busy schedule as he's preparing for new projects. Afterwards, I sat down with Danny as we talked about upcoming events and such in general, like in Chicago, screenings, events, film festivals, that sort of thing. So if you want to know about some upcoming things, place to meet people, that sort of thing, stick around for the end after the interview to get a glimpse of that. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Matthew Shreefy, co-founder of Unlit, and I'm here today with Henry Czerwonka. Is that how you say it, Czerwonka?
Yep, that's the right way.
All right. Writer, director, producer, and editor. And we're going to be talking about his latest film, Haunters, which recently won an award at the New York Shorts Film Festival. Congrats, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
So Haunters is wonderful. I'm a huge fan of dance sequences in film, and this film is primarily a dance sequence representing deeper emotions about nostalgia and memory, our relationship to place, and both the sense of overwhelming isolation, and then transitions into something more ethereal, I find. In your director's statement on the film, which I'll put on screen, it'll be in the description as well, you mentioned how return trip home after living abroad for years inspired the film. So what did you first do to capture that inspiration? Was it like a mood board? Did you just go straight into writing? Was Haunters scripted?
Yeah, Haunters was not traditionally scripted. We started with this feeling, which that kind of spark for this idea like came from circumstance and like a very palpable emotion that my wife and I were experiencing moving back. And there was kind of this moment where I was in pre-pro on another project. Things weren't working out in the timing we were wanting them to be. And I kind of shelved it and was like, I feel like I kind of need to go back to kind of a sandbox of like not assuming what my next thing will be and just allowing kind of things to be open to what might, what might actually come up if I kind of take myself out of the get things done mindset. And in that kind of space of a couple of days, I ended up listening to this song called Gretel by Alex G, which I
Oh
had
my
heard
God.
before.
I love
Yeah,
Alex G. I love Alex G. Great song.
incredible track. I had it on a playlist for years. It just came on shuffle. And right around that same time, like I'm listening to it, I'm kind of like doom scrolling. And this poem from this writer named BC Vital, who's in the film,
Mhm.
comes across my feed, and it's talking about really the relationship to home, and like it talks about it's this metaphor of a farmhouse and kind of relating to this abandoned farmhouse in a cornfield. And
Mm.
I don't know what it was about that moment, but it felt like I kind of got struck by lightning. It was like this is kind of bringing up something I haven't had language or visuals or words to communicate in a way that feels tangible. And so I basically tried to take that feeling and just translate it into visuals and structure. And we worked with a composer named Collins McClellan,
Mhm.
and I basically sent him some images and that track. And I was like, this is what we're going for. We need to make something brand new out of it. There's no script, there's nothing to go off of. Like, we're writing the story with
Mhm.
this track. And so he really kind of became a co-writer in a lot of ways. And so very untraditional, but I find that my process has always been very like tied to music. And
Yeah.
so it made a lot of sense, at least in my mind, to do it that way.
Right. So you're saying it was basically this poem and then the score that kind of shaped the visuals that you ended up capturing.
Yeah. It just it felt like the kind of perfect storm of all these different things that just fit. And I don't feel like I'm like smart enough to have just come up with that. I think it's literally one of those things where if you open yourself up, things are kind of revealed that you wouldn't have been able to get to on your own. And so it felt like one of those moments for sure.
Wonderful. I actually want to talk about BC Vital. So they're featured in the project. They come on screen. They
Yeah.
recite the poem. Was this like always intended from the jump, or was this something you kind of just thought of while you were shooting?
Well, yeah, I mean, I had kind of started running with that poem after it had, sparked that initial idea.
Hmm.
And probably about a month into like pre-pro stuff, I was like, man, it'd be so cool to have her read this and have it be less of a, you know, peripheral influence and actually be a part of the story itself. And so I just kind of cold DM'd her.
Hmm.
She has a pretty large following, so I'm like, she'll probably never see this or get back to me. And she did. And we hopped on the phone and we really were able to connect. She's also from Ohio, which is where I'm
Hmm.
from originally. And we were just kind of able to talk through that shifting sense of home and really loving where you're from and, kind of telling that story really honestly of like the places you grow up. And yeah, she was gracious enough to drive like an hour and a half for a couple hours on set and read those words, which there's no other situation in my head where it would have made sense to have someone else read that. Like
Hmm.
she embodies that message and that story so well.
That's really cool that like just a random DM could get such a cool aspect of the film made.
Yeah,
That's really sweet.
yeah, no doubt.
I want to talk about the visuals a little bit. It is a beautiful film to look at, and it is shot on film by a frequent collaborator of yours, right, Luke
Yeah,
Holiday.
yeah.
Could you talk more about like the idea to shoot on film? Was this the first time you've worked on film? Was really it was? Wow,
Yes.
and it came out really well for a first time. I was like,
Thank
whoa.
you. Thank
Um,
you. Not
I'm
Luke's first time, my first
oh
time. I
yeah,
will give him credit where credit's due. He's done it a few times at this point, but yeah.
great. And I'm assuming like you guys both came to the conclusion to shoot on film just due to kind of the subject matter you guys were just exploring?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd been looking for an excuse to shoot on 16 for a while.
Hmm.
Um, and I would also say like this project just lent itself so much to it.
Hmm.
It's very much this like dream state, like it's this heightened sense of reality. And I think 16 kind of takes you out of a more linear or logical like state of mind and puts you in something that feels more ethereal and feels a little bit more um I don't know, like there's an emotional logic and there's a dream logic to it.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just captured that. And then also just the texture of the environment, like the Midwest in the winter. I think if you've had that experience just driving through cornfields at night, like there is such a distinct feeling to it. And we talked a lot about how 16 elevates that and elevates that sense of texture and kind of history and presence and everything.
Awesome, awesome. I really loved like there's a Spike Lee dolly shot in front of the house. I love that where
Yeah.
like Katie's dancing and we're kind of moving
Yes.
away from it. I wanted to ask like when you're working with Luke, because I know like the relationship between a director and a DP is very important, especially when you've worked with them so many times before. Are you guys planning out every shot before? Is there kind of a sense of discovery on set? Um, yeah, tell me more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, Luke and I have a really like I feel very lucky to have that collaboration. We met when we were 15 years old at a
Oh
film
wow.
camp. And we were both just trying to figure out how cameras work and how
Hmm.
all of this, functions. And so we've been working together for going on 10 years now. And so when it came to this project, there was a very regimented shot list going in. One, because we're shooting on 16 and it's,
Hmm.
it's performance. Like there was less ability to kind of discover, it felt like going in. Not to mention that we were in a foot of snow and it was like 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Um, but even on set, we were running through our shot list, which was very minimalistic. And the shot from the side where you see the house in frame left and Katie very small in frame right,
Hmm.
which has kind of become like the banner image for the film, was something Luke actually found as he was walking. We had to carve a path to the house and like this
Hmm.
wide arc so you wouldn't see crew footsteps. And halfway along that arc was this amazing image with so much scale, and that wasn't on the shot list.
Wow.
And it's funny the way that kind of, again, being open to ideas as they occur and not being so regimented, even though it did feel a bit more regimented than we're used to.
Hmm.
There were still kind of those moments where it felt like the film was revealing itself on set.
Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. I've definitely had experiences like that where kind of just finding a random shot becomes something that you really enjoy and want to keep in the film.
Yeah,
Total accident, happy accidents, as they say.
100%.
So for the rest of this crew, just throwing this out there, were these like just buddies that you've worked with before? Were these new people brought in?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of like people who have collaborated on past projects,
Hmm.
um, and also some people who, were just down to jump in. Kind of an insane project to jump in on.
Yeah.
It was we were shuttling people out because that house, you can't tell, but it's 150 yards plus off the side of this road. And so
Wow.
we're shoveling, a couple feet of snow from the plows
Hmm.
along the road. And then we're just, we have two pickup trucks that can barely get back and forth. And so, we're shuttling people out to go to the bathroom and back. And so I'm always amazed when people jump on passion projects where there isn't as much structure and, like you kind of make it work by just grit and passion. um, there was a team that came around it and like believed in it in a way that's like kind of overwhelming to watch from afar. I'm sure you've had those experiences where it's
Yeah.
like, "Man, this is such a generous act to see all these people, um, yeah, kind of giving of their time and talent to this." And so, yeah, I think it was a smaller crew, but a lot of familiar faces and people that I want to keep working with for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, that's great. I want to go back to that snow. I watched the BTS film, which I
Yeah.
recommend everyone who's listening to this or watching this to do. It seemed, in one of the point, I could be misunderstanding, but it seemed like the snow was a concern. So was it always planned to have snow in the film, or was this kind of another happy accident that you kind of just had to adapt to?
Definitely a happy accident. We had talked about early on, like, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool if there were snow on the ground? But
Hmm.
you pick dates months in advance, and
Right.
there's nothing we can really do one way or the other. And so it snowed more than it usually does in Ohio. Like I don't remember a winter with that much snow in my
Hmm.
lifetime. Um, and we were just kind of hoping and praying that it would stick around, and it did for a couple weeks. And
Hmm.
so it melted like maybe 2 or 3 days after we wrapped. So I
Wow.
would say it was certainly a challenge. There was a
Hmm.
lot of added stress and kind of problem solving that had to happen because of it. But there
Hmm.
was also this understanding of like, this is such a like there's no way you can fabricate this. There's no way that you can like will your way into, this visual identity that like Mother Nature has now given this film. Um, and so I think that like really motivated people to take the challenge on. It felt like sometimes it feels like there's obstacles where it's like, I don't even really know what the point of this is. This is
Hmm.
just difficult. For that, it was like, man, this is going to be so worth it once we
Wow.
figure out how to get
I
all of
mean,
our
it
crew over the snow.
it looked beautiful. Like I can't imagine. Like I feel like it definitely enhanced the
Yeah.
project in a way. But I'm just watching. I was like, oh my god, I can't imagine filming in this much snow and do especially in such like an isolated location. So I bet it was a challenge, but it was
Yeah.
gorgeous. Like it definitely paid off. In sort of the aesthetic of the film. For sure. I want
Yeah,
to go back
man.
to pre-production a little bit. Could you give me like a rough timeline? Like how long was pre-pro? And was it 1 day or 2 days of shooting? And then like how long
Yeah.
was post?
Yeah. So had the initial idea August of 2025. We
Hmm.
went into production in February. I would say that there was like a month or two there of um we were kind of sitting on it and waiting for Collins, our composer's availability. So we started like we really dove in around November. And so I would say it was 3 months of focused pre-production and then
Hmm.
2 days of shooting.
Hmm.
We did the house all one day and then the other two locations at the graveyard and the playground the second day. And then post was relatively short. I think we had a finished film early April,
Okay.
so
Wow. Yeah, that's
about two
great.
months. the beauty of shooting on film is that every second is like money out of your pocket, and so
Yeah.
you go into post with such a finite amount of footage to pull from, which I love post. I'm an editor as well as a director, and so that was like to have such a focused um environment with the cut really, I feel like allowed me to find way more than I would have normally, and kind of find like a life in the edit um, that was really rewarding. And it's harder to do often when you have more to sift through. And so that's like one of the things.
Hmm.
There's a lot, you can say about shooting on film that's wonderful, but that was one of the things that I wasn't expecting, is the way it would affect the edit.
Hmm.
And that would just be a more focused process in general. But yeah, 2 months of post, and it's been in the festival circuit for a bit, and now it's out in the world.
Yeah, I wanted to say, speaking of your editing, like I loved it. I think there's so many great match cuts, some cool like transitions. I feel like too. How and like it does play with the score very well. The editing, I find, where the match cuts, like all these things, these were all planned, and you kind of knew going in that you were gonna have them in the edit.
Yes, yeah, the match cut was like a really big part of, the idea of this sense of like she's kind of phasing in and out of all these different places, and it's hard to tell, you know, like she is the center focus, and what's
Hmm.
around her starts to feel more and more surreal and almost irrelevant until she kind of has to face it, and then that's where we break out of those match cuts a bit more. Um, but yeah, those were all very premeditated, as well as, the match cuts at the end where we're cutting back and forth between the double dolly and then her buried, kind of
Hmm.
this like visual of some part of, herself is in the ground in this place, and another part of herself is moving away. And that was like a very, very fun thing to play around with, and really kind of forcing ourselves into like one specific frame across
Hmm.
multiple locations was a really, I think we found that because of our limitation to like, what can you do to visually tell this story if you were to just have this one frame? And so
Yeah,
very
I
fun to play around with.
go into the locations themselves, like house, playground, and cemetery. Like I see these, like to me, I'm looking at it as like a very cool embodiment of just life, like a place to play, a place to live, a place to rest.
Yeah.
Like tell me more about like finding these locations. I know the house was just abandoned. You could literally see like Kate like opened in the BTS film. So I just want to
Yeah.
know more about these places.
Yeah, the house definitely, I would say, was one of the biggest challenges in pre-production. Is just getting permission
Hmm.
to, shoot in a place like that. There is no shortage of abandoned farmhouses in Ohio, but that one had such a unique look to it. Um, and then it's just a matter of, like there's liability, there's these things to kind of figure out,
Hmm.
being in a place that does have like an inherent danger to it.
Hmm.
Um, but that worked out. It feels like, again, so much of this, if I had to like kind of surmise the making of this project, it was like kind of coming back to this place of like open hand surrender of like what will happen, is what's supposed to happen.
Hmm.
And so that location, we had picked out another one. That was my first pick. We were trying to get it for weeks, couldn't get it locked down. And then I think less than a week before we started shooting, we had found another location, and it worked. We had totally moved on. It worked out in the nick of time to shoot there. And I'm so happy that we were able to do that. And then yeah, the playground in the graveyard, um, not as much of a challenge there from a production standpoint, but certainly like very meaningful. I think the tension between those three locations, um, they all mean a lot to me. And I
Hmm.
think there's an inherent wrestle with what is home that this
Hmm.
film is asking. And I
Hmm.
think each of those locations kind of offer a different perspective on what home could mean, and
Hmm.
what our relationship with home looks like through the span of our lives.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I mean, it's I like seeing those three locations like flashing between it for sure gives that kind of sense. And of course, as you mentioned, like the whole film was just inspired by returning home. I want to talk a little bit more about the score, like, or I guess the musical piece by with
Yeah.
Collins. Like, how was that process? Is it sort of, I obviously you said you kind of sent him this poem and the and this track and was like, this is what I kind of want to do. Was there a lot of revisions when working with him? Were you kind of like, I trust you to do whatever you need to do?
Yeah, I would say it was like definitely like there was a lot of like me just kind of giving him the material at first and allowing him to kind of explore it
Mm-hmm.
and make it his own. He is like I mean, he is a genius at kind of finding these crazy, unexpected sounds
Mm-hmm.
out of instruments that are traditionally, it's a lot of strings, it's traditionally presented and recorded in a certain way. And he'll run cellos through like crazy guitar amps and like wild, wild stuff. And so there was like this sandbox period where we were throwing, and he was throwing so many ideas against the wall, and it kind of became this distillation of like, man, this really felt like it had something. And we start just piecing together the structure. It truly felt like the regiment of screenwriting, where it's just is like you have all these fragments of pieces in front of you, and you know there's like something to it, but you don't know exactly where in the puzzle it fits. It was very much like that, which was unique in working with a composer, because typically they're, working against a visual reference, and there's a bit more of a structure going into that conversation. But he is a natural storyteller and took it on. And we ended in a place that I think is and I love the score and I love where the music landed. The one part of it that really never changed from the very first draft was that we called it the catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of where in the film she kind of drops and we
Mm-hmm.
break out of this very static wide
Yes.
framing
Yes.
and the kind of the strings build. That was there from the very first draft,
Okay.
in like mid-November, and it was like, all right, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know kind of where we climax with all this and we build outward from that. And so, very, very cool process working with him. I would love to do something like that again at some point.
Yeah, it was sick. I mean, the catharsis moment is great. I mean, it's where we kind of introduce new angles. You get the her looking at the light. Very beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And I think it's and done in a way where like it's ambiguous in a great way, where you can kind of have different emotional resonance depending on your own identity or like your own idea of home and kind of returning
Totally.
home. Yeah, I mean, I'm from originally from Cali and now been based in Chicago, so I kind of like this film really resonated with me every time I go back to Cali. It's almost a very similar feeling. Um,
Yeah,
it's strange.
absolutely. It is.
Few more things here. I really want to talk about the choreography. I feel like that's the one thing we haven't talked about. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
So Katie, who performs the dance, also choreographed it. How was that process of like working on the choreography with Katie?
Yeah, that was another one of those, like going back to that motif of kind of this surrendered approach to this process. We we had put together this pitch for the project and we were moving forward and we were talking to a few different choreographers and dancers, but we were like, man, it just feels like we need such a specific person who can connect with this story,
Mm-hmm.
um, and can kind of meet us in the place we're coming from. And that feels like a needle in a haystack kind of thing. And my wife and I actually, we kind of co-wrote this story together. We were sitting at a coffee shop one day, and I think we were looking like a little bit stressed about it. And our
Mm-hmm.
friend came over who works at this coffee shop and was like, what are you guys doing? We told her a little bit. She goes, oh my gosh, you should talk to this person who's sitting right next to you, Maddie. She might know somebody. And so we start talking with her, and she connects us with Katie right then and there. We had, it was a
Mm-hmm.
total just through mutuals type of
Whoa.
thing. And so once again, a cold DM into the void, and she's based in New York, and we happen to be coming up a few weeks later,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, we connected, and I think we talked about the project with her for about 45, 50 minutes. Her and her fiance came, and we ended up talking with them for like 2 hours after we finished talking about the project, just about life and kind of stories and um, just like kind of like a bit more like under the surface type of stuff. And it was a very unexpected and genuine connection. Now they're really great friends. Um, But yeah, it was one of those moments where it's like there's no way that you can kind of, I guess, manipulate a moment like that into
Hmm.
being. Like I think about like what if we had gone to a different coffee shop that day? This movie would look incredibly different
Yeah.
without what she brought to it. And I mean, she really brought like a piece of herself um, into this story that I think you can see in the film that this is, it's more than just hitting the marks of choreography. Like, I think it's, her performance, speaks to like a deeper vulnerability and truth that she really entered into. And so, yeah, she's amazing. We're actually continuing to work together on some things coming up here. And so,
That's
yeah, Katie,
sick.
Katie crushed it.
Yeah, it really is. It feels like a it's like the central aspect of the film for
Yeah.
sure. And it's so well done. Two more questions I have for you, or I guess two and a half. But so Haunters is the third in a trilogy I saw, maybe an official trilogy, maybe. But I really enjoyed Analog Rainbow, which I guess is the first of that trilogy. Such a very long film, but wonderful. The ending
Yeah.
is great. And then there was a music video that kind of sets as the middle piece, and I kind of see this like transition between taking this nostalgia, this memory aspect from Analog Rainbow, taking the musical elements from the music video. Was there like things that was this trilogy sort of helping you get to where Haunters like is at? Were there lessons learned from working on those other two projects?
Yeah, certainly as a filmmaker, I think there's always kind of this like, what is your voice
Mm-hmm.
conversation that can feel like so overwhelming and like what does that even mean? But I definitely think that, those first looking at those two projects that came before this, um, there was certainly like a wrestle through that of like, who am I in this space and what do I have to say? Um, and I think Haunters feels like kind of maybe an arrival, but I feel that way
Mm-hmm.
about every project to some extent. There's like an obsession with finality, I think, sometimes with artists.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, in terms of the trilogy and the larger story that's being told, um, it's going somewhere very specific. There is it's difficult probably to decipher what that is now, but the story of the Analog Rainbow Corporation is far from over, and this is kind of a continuation of that. And I think in retrospect, there'll be more clarity around like where it all fits. Um, but yeah, it's going to be exciting to kind of continue to bring people into that world and where it goes next.
It's really cool to kind of have like a shared universe within your films to an extent, or at least even
Yeah.
just shared thematically. But I speak from experience because I have this one central character that was just a random character in a short film I did, and then he became a main character in my micro budget feature that I did, and then he became another character, a side character, another micro budget feature, and this kind of tying the films in.
Yeah,
It gives it a sense of familiarity to like a sandbox environment. That kind of, I don't know, I love that kind of thing. So I was very
totally.
happy when I saw that it was a trilogy. I was like, that was so sick.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and then lastly, I just want to go back to your director's statement. In the end, I really love this bit. You say perhaps we're all haunters in one way or another. For me, like to me, I take it to mean as sort of we end up haunting the places we return to within our own kind of aspects of the memory. But is there more that you'd like to expand on that idea or like that end statement? It's totally fine if you want to leave it as is, but I just thought it was very cool.
Yeah. First of all, yeah, thank you. I I think there's an unanswered question in that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know that I think maybe, talking about like an arrival or whatever, like I'm maturing. I think I felt like in the past as a filmmaker and as a writer, I I had to answer questions for myself before I was allowed to make something out of those questions,
Mm-hmm.
which feels like I think when you talk in more broad terms, it's like, no, that's not the point. But I think there is something that's in it's like, no, I need to know how I feel about this thing or what my perspective on this thing is in order to make something out of it. And when it comes to this project, I think I'm asking a lot of the same questions that I was at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and specifically that statement of perhaps we're all haunters in one way or another. Um, I think that there is kind of a deeper wrestle with like the fact that home and the definition of that word will always change
Yeah.
throughout life.
Yeah.
And that can be applied so many different ways. I think
Hmm.
it's about place for sure. I think it has more to do with relationships as well. I think
Mm.
it has, you know, implications in like our ambitions, the things we kind of set our minds to and pursue. I think that like that sense of wandering, there's like a coming to terms with like the impermanence of things.
Hmm.
And um yeah, I think that I leave it very open because for me it still feels very open. And
Yeah.
so my hope with, you know, that statement in this project as a whole is that people feel um, seen in that kind of liminal in between state that I think a lot of our lives are spent in, and that's not devoid of meaning. You know,
Yes.
like it's not meaningful once you arrive. It's there's meaning in, you know, every moment inherently, even the lonely and displaced ones. And so, um, yeah, I think that idea is kind of an ongoing thing for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, very well said. Cool. Well, I just want to say, is there anything you're working on now that you want to talk about?
Yeah. So, like as you said, this is a third chapter in the story of the tree line. There is more coming in the immediate or near immediate future. We're working on a few different things right now, and yeah, this team that was kind of behind Haunters is we're kind of rocking together for the near future and some really cool stuff. And so lots more coming very, very soon. Can't say like too much right now, but it's going to be an exciting next couple months.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to leave all your links and such to YouTube, Instagram, all that's going to be in the description of the video. But I really appreciate you spending some time to talk about this project. It's really awesome. I'm such a fan of it. I was sending it to the group chat. I was like, dude, we got to meet this director. I love this project. So I'm excited to see what you got in store. But yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. This computer there. All right. Hello, guys. I'm here with Danny, and we're going to be talking about some news and events and such coming to Chicago in the near future. Firstly, I want to talk about the Chicago International Film Festival. Early bird passes are on sale right now. But if you get a membership, and this is a little secret hack, you could get a student membership for like $70, and it's tax deductible. So you can take that off your taxes if you do your taxes. Parts of it, sorry, not the whole thing, of course. But and they kind of give you access to the members pre-sale for sort of the individual tickets for any of the events and such, which I think is a good deal. Just to be able to get that, especially if they have some cool guests. Hoping for Hamaguchi Loki if he's there. I'm gonna be very excited to go see his film. But yeah, that will open September 18th. So you could hold out for that, but definitely try to get, if you can, get a little membership. It helps out the Chicago Film Festival and the Film Society if you get a little membership there, and get the student one if you can. Uh, Other than that, we also have Amateur Film Festival announced that it is taking place November 8th in Chicago. This is the second one. The one they did last year was amazing. It was like, I think, over 3 hours of short films from some crazy cool filmmakers of all ages from all over the place, of course. Some people, literally internationally, they had people like zooming in talking about their films, which was really awesome. Great place to meet filmmakers that are making some crazy cool avant-garde random stuff. It's awesome. There was like a stop motion mixed media one they did that I saw that was really cool, with like a lake monster that eats like willies. It eats willies and hot dogs. It was really cool. But yes, definitely try to go to Amateur Film Festival. I believe the submissions are closed, but you know, it's still cool. Definitely try to go see it. Danny, do you want to talk about the zine?
So with the zine, we're pretty much accepting anything that can be printed. So if you're wanting to submit stills, script excerpts, storyboards, or essays, reviews, or even program pitches, we'd love to read them. As long as it kind of fits under the theme of Made in Chicago. And what that can mean is it can be inspired by either like a film that you've seen here, a film that you've shot here, or even just about your acknowledgement of the cinephile world here in the city. Yeah, so it's pretty broad, but we're looking for anything and everything. Camp Miasma, Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma just went wide to Gene Siskel, Landmark Century, New City, Roosevelt. So it's pretty much out there. And I think that we've all seen it now here at Cinema Unlit, and I think that we
Yeah,
all really loved it.
it was really good.
If you're into that kind of like digital or just kind of like freaked out feminine vibe, at the Davis they're screening Red Room September 10th, which will be with writer-director Pascal Plante and moderated by Scott Tobias, who oh, and will be moderated by Scott Tobias, whom you guys might recognize from The Reveal, the online film publication. Um,
It's cool.
oh,
Yeah, a couple more. Or you got anything more?
No, I
Danny, or catch
was trying to think. I was like, what else do I have?
Don't worry. I got some stuff to talk about too as well. In terms of screenings, one of my films will be screening an old film of mine called Be Mine Mime, which was like the first, I guess, bigger short film I ever did. I think, yeah, really, when I was at DePaul. That's gonna be screening as part of the Chicago On Screen film series, which basically they go to a bunch of different parks and put on a bunch of short films from different filmmakers from Chicago. I guess like on a projector screen out on the park. It's totally free to go to. I'm going to be going to I think the Jackson one. Which one is that? Actually, let me see. There's two. There's the 25th and the 27th, which I think I'm going to go to the 27th one, which is, yeah, Jackson Park. Yes, so I'll be at the 27th one. But cool, again, a cool event to kind of meet filmmakers and see films for free. It's totally free. Additionally, Music Box is doing a Noir City Chicago 2026, which has a ton of like kind of screenings, really. Even offering a series pass. That's how you know it's a big event. I will probably maybe go see The Man with the Golden Arm. That's probably what I will go see out of these. But Blues of the Night is a good movie as well. I'm just looking at these right now. Pretty cool. The Wrong Man, yeah, that's cool. Anyways, so if you're into noir, that's a cool event to be on the lookout for. At Facets, Wednesday, September 2nd, which is coming up, Selena and Julie Go Boating, which is a 3-hour masterpiece. It's very fun, very joyful, very out there, but definitely a good time. Definitely recommend that as well. But that's it for me in terms of screenings to be on the lookout for. I guess also Castration Movie 2, which will be playing. Wait, is it playing at the Alamo though?
It's playing at the Alamo.
Maybe I won't
We
go
want
to
to drop that.
that.
We can say that it's playing and just be like,
You could. Are we still boycotting the Alamo? I just don't want to personally go to the Alamo.
okay, here,
But I have, Matthew can screen it. I got the Blu-ray. We can just watch it.
we'll do the screening at Matthew's apartment.
Yeah, at
in
my
the basement.
apartment. Just show me show me that you were gonna buy a ticket and then you decided not to, and you free entry to my house to
If you
watch
refund, send us proof of refunding.
it. But
Wait,
also,
can
it's a
I
good
drop
movie.
Chicago Underground? Can I drop
Oh
Chicago
yeah. Talk about Chicago
Underground?
Underground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 33rd edition of Chicago Underground Film Festival is coming to the Harper Theater and the Gene Siskel from September 23rd to the 27th. And it's going to be so cool. I was one of the programming assistants this year, and so I can testify
Oh
that all
whoa.
of the selections were really sick. My professor from Emerson College is screening his film there.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's sick.
if you go to what's it called? Nothing Stays Fixed on September 26th and you see a film by Malik Amalia, um
That's the one. That's the one to go.
yeah,
Think of Danny.
that's the real think of me.
Okay, I'll probably try to go to the tail end of that again. I might be out of the country, but it could be the move.
Oh, all access tickets are only $100,
That's not
which
bad
is
at
like
all.
which isn't
What's the?
bad.
Do you know
Like
what's the day price? Is there like a day ticket?
there isn't what is let me check. Let me check.
Yeah, that'll be good to know. I'm
Um
interested in that.
oh, they're all sold out.
Damn, really?
No,
All
wait,
the day?
no. Only early access passes, but I think
Okay.
there's only all access left. So let me see how much is just a single ticket?
Yeah, how much is a single day? That's what the people want to know.
$13 per
What?
per screening. It's
Per
13 per
screening? Oh,
screening.
that's not bad. Okay, so like, so you could either get 100. Oh, so okay, look at that. If there's more than 13 or if there's more than 10 films that you want to see, then just get the all access $100 one.
Just get it.
That's a
Just get
great
it.
deal. Yeah,
Just
that's
get
actually a
it.
great
Just
deal.
get it.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Danny, for hopping on and helping me discuss some more things. Submit to the zine. Please submit to the zine.
Please,
We want to see your
please,
work.
please,
It's gonna
please,
be
please.
dope. Awesome sauce. Well, thank you. This has been the first episode of our web show. Maybe the second one will not be all over Zoom, but we'll see. We'll see. Thank you very much.